All right, so again, we didn't really see much of Ruff's standard TVP. He went for that cheese in that last game. So we'll see whether he tries to get into a standard game, whether Hasuu scouts every square inch of this MLG Shattered Temple map once we see the spawn locations. But we're going to have the Merry Christmas colors here, the green Protoss, vVvHasuu spawning as the Protoss in the south, and then his opponent, his new teammate, and the guy he just saw all kill, Team Infinity, vVvRUFF, spawning as the red Terran in the western position. So once again, close positions by air. We'll see if that has any sort of impact as we get into the game here.
Yeah, so Hasuu, once again, 6 o'clock. I'm just trying to catch up. Ruff at the 9 o'clock location. And I can't imagine Ruff trying to do the same Reaper expansion trick that we saw moments ago, especially against a Protoss player. Against a Terran player, it usually works out well. There's not that gateway pressure that we normally see coming in from a Terran player. Protoss player is able to put down a lot more pressure and a lot more damage early on. So we'll see if Ruff has any tricks up his sleeve.
Yeah, like I said, I'd really like to see him get into not a quote-unquote normal, but more of a standard play against Protoss. And if I'm Hasuu, I'm scouting, again, every square inch of this map, as we do see him place his pylon down, and we'll see when that first gateway goes down as well. Looks like he's getting a 13 gate now as that probe is positioned, and just continuing to chrono out probes. We'll see if Hasuu and Ruff get into that late game Ghost versus Templar action, which I think we've been seeing quite a bit as Ghosts have become cheaper and cheaper, and Terran are really learning to use them in not only this TVP, but also the TVZ matchup, as they're just very strong spellcasters on the other side now. I'd really like to see some of that action. MLG Columbus had Thorzane versus MC in some great EMP versus feedback wars, and I think it's a really fun dynamic in this matchup.
Yeah, we are going to see Ruff now getting for that early refinery, so it's not going to be any crazy marine pressure here on Shattered Temple. The probe now just wandering around, pretty much getting a lot of information. The build looks pretty standard, so I don't think Hasuu has to worry about any craziness with proxy Raxes or anything like that. We are going to have one marine come out in just a moment. The probe realizes the marine will be coming out. He wants to see if a tech lab or a reactor is added as the supply depot finishes off this Wallen.
And we see Ruff actually scouting pretty late here. He knows it's MLG Shattered Temple, so not sending into that close position. But if a Stalker comes out for Hasuu and his Cybernetics core not quite done, he might be able to deny any sort of scouting here, as he is just now getting up his second gas. Might be going for a pretty standard techie play coming from Protoss, and Ruff will be able to scout this second gas before the Stalker comes out, I believe, though it is being chrono boosted.
Yeah, so the Stalker will come out in, I believe, 32 seconds. The SCV will come up the ramp, I believe, yeah, and he will be able to see the double gas play, which is going to be absolutely huge. But what really this SCV needs to see is what that next critical building will be. If it's additional gateways, if it's instead perhaps a Stargate or robotics facility, that will determine how Ruff tries to play against this Protoss, as Hasuu just getting shots onto the back of that SCV. And I believe as soon as this SCV goes down, we should be seeing, yes, there it is, a Stargate.
That's awesome. I really love to see the one gate into immediate teching. I think we've definitely seen it since they did weaken the warp gate tech a little bit. You're not forced to go for 3 or 4 gates in the early going and get out a lot of units. I think it opens up all these builds. We see the Stargate coming out, and that can be quite powerful depending on what your Terran opponent goes for. I think a lot of players really assume that Terran has a lot of Marines and Void Rays aren't as good, but with good positioning and depending on the Terran unit comp, Void Rays can be very powerful along with gateway units. We see double factory out for Ruff. So as a Terran player, what do you see coming from the double factory here? And is it going to be able to take on the Stargate, the Void Ray, which will be coming out?
Well, double factory normally means a lot of Hellions, especially when you have that blue flame research coming in, and this is going to actually not work out well for Ruff at all unless Ruff changes the starport for the reactor and goes into double Vikings. This is a rather unorthodox build. It's not something you see in everyday play, but I believe it's going to be one medevac trying to drop blue flame Hellions. But Hasuu is going to come in with Phoenix pressure, and those Phoenixes that can Graviton Beam those Hellions, shut them down, and then the other Phoenixes dealing 20, I believe it's 20 damage per attack since they are light. Yes, 20 damage per attack should be able to just easily handle these Blue Flame Hellions, as both players are not going for standard builds at all.
Yeah, so Hasuu going to be able to do a little bit of harass here, picking up that mule and taking it down, and now picking up an SCV and taking that down as well. With only 2 Phoenix really limited, both DPS-wise and energy-wise, when we do see players go for Phoenix here, typically they go for anywhere between 3 and 5 Phoenix, try to keep those alive the entire game and just continuously harass. But now we see that Ruff, he is coming out with that medevac, and now he might think better of using the medevac to drop those Hellions. And Hasuu did have a probe watching those Hellions leave the base of Ruff, and he will be able to move units into position to guard against these Hellions. Blue Flame is done, so going to be doing a full 24 damage against the probes of Hasuu.
Yeah, right now I think Ruff doesn't even need that medevac. He may simply just drive up this ramp, and the Stalkers are on the far side. That's going to be a problem, as the Hellions are now going to be able to come in and just harass this mineral line. This is going to be an absolute nightmare. Probes coming over. The Phoenixes need to pick up the Hellions. There you go, shutting those down. And the Phoenixes are a good counter to those Hellions, as you can see. But a lot of workers killed, 8 workers compared to 3.
Yeah, so beautiful job by Ruff there, getting a lot of damage done, and then Hasuu as well coming in with those Phoenix. I really love Phoenix play. I wish that more Protoss players use them. Not only are they able to take back air control a little bit, which we don't often see in this matchup, but they're also able to just continuously harass, as we see Ruff having to get down a missile turret here. And if you add a few more Phoenix, the missile turret not going to be very effective, as the shields allow those Phoenix to poke in there and at least take down some of these SCVs, which are also creating buildings. And if you're able to pick up and kill SCVs, it can really hamper the production of the Terran player. We see that there is an expansion down for Hasuu, and we have no expansion yet for Ruff at the moment.
Yeah, also, what I don't quite understand is why Ruff added a tech lab to his starport. I could imagine Banshee or a Raven coming out, but Banshees would just be an absolute nightmare right now at this stage in the game, as the Hellions over here by Ruff looking to get more damage and will be able to simply run in, get some more probe kills. They're all lined up, and oh, that was just a toasting right there. Just absolute nightmare, as Hasuu is now, I believe, once again behind on workers.
Yes, 17 kills, so another 9 kills coming there in that attack, and it is 26 to 23. But Hasuu has the 2 bases here, so Ruff does have the mules, he's got the slight SCV advantage, but Hasuu is going to be a lot more economic and efficient spreading those probes over the 2 bases, so his economy won't be hurting that much, actually pretty even with the Terran at the moment, and I really think Ruff either needs to pick a timing here to push out, or he needs to expand here and try to go into a late game.
Yeah, Ruff losing quick 3 SCVs, supply locking his opponent an even longer moment there, as the Phoenix is once again backing off. And we haven't seen Ruff right now pushed into the corner as he is currently in this game. A Raven is being added, more Hellions, and some siege tanks as well. So Ruff being forced to play off of 1 base at this stage. And I'm not quite sure what Ruff can really do. Hasuu has the expansion and that map control from these Phoenixes, able to just deal so much damage and contain Ruff inside his base.
Well, I mean, Ruff is, I guess I would say he's on the defensive at the moment, but it's only against the harass. The Phoenix are pushing in here. Once again, it looks like they'll be taking down a CV and going to be able to escape by just the narrowest of margins. Most of the shields down on that 1 Phoenix. But Hasuu isn't really going to be able to push out and place any pressure on the front door of Ruff at the moment. He just has these 7 Stalkers, and Ruff does have siege tanks up with siege tech. He's got a lot of Marines as well, so he really needs to expand, as we see once again doing a ton of damage with these Hellions. And now we see Hasuu responding and going to be putting those probes on stop to try to limit the amount of damage the Hellions are going to be able to do. But another 3 probes do go down.
Yeah, so 3 probes for 2 Hellions. Hasuu is trying to chrono boost out so many of these probes as well. He is going into 4 gas play though, so he may be going into 2 base Colossus. And 2 base Colossi are going to be able to push out very easily. Ruff at some point should try to swap the reactor on the starport, get some Vikings out, but he is severely gas limited at this time. The Marines are not going to be all in all that effective, as the Phoenixes are once again deterred by that 1 missile turret.
Yeah, it looks like Ruff may be choosing this timing to push out. He's got no expansion that he's going to be pushing out here to defend, so this will be an attack. And he does have the Raven out, so that's going to be able to drop a point defense drone and be very powerful against the Stalkers and the Phoenix that Hasuu has. There is stim finished for Ruff as well, so I think he was waiting for that. And now pushing out, he's got a pretty intimidating force. He's got Siege, he's got Stim Marines, and just one Colossi out, or two Colossi out now for Hasuu. And he also has the extended thermal lance, so we'll see as the battle and the two armies go toe to toe here.
Yeah, the Phoenixes are now engaging. Marines are now trying to stim up as well. Colossi just able to shut down many of those units there as the point defense drone shutting down many of the Stalkers. The Phoenixes are going to come in from behind, and the Phoenixes with that double attack depleting all the energy on that point defense drone rather quickly. One Colossus getting away from Hasuu there as the Siege tanks now shelling apart all of those Colossi, and now the Marines able to stim and perhaps shut down this Nexus.
He had just one Colossus, one Stalker, and one Phoenix left for Hasuu, so I'm not sure how he's going to be able to defend against this. And giving the G, and Ruff giving the responding GG. So Ruff 5 straight now, taking down Hasuu, one of his own teammates, and is going to be moving on to face either Titan or Angry.
Yeah, so really nice play. Ruff sitting on one base. Hasuu just took too much damage from those Hellions. He lost 20 probes, didn't get the strong enough economy. And then he stopped his Phoenix production. You need those Phoenixes to shut down those siege tanks, graviton beam them, make sure that they can't deal any damage, and then you can let the Colossus just run rampant against those Marines. There were no Vikings to really challenge them, but it was just a matter of positioning, and Ruff knew that he had a very small window to try to take the victory away from Hasuu, but he was able to do it.
Yeah, as I mentioned, I mean, he was on the defensive against those Phoenix, but the Phoenix weren't going to be able to do too much damage, and Ruff needed to pick a timing there. He picked a very strong one with Stim and Siege Tech both finishing, and that point defense drone is just clutch against those Phoenix and the Stalkers. Really helps. I mean, if you can get 5 or 10 seconds where the Stalkers and the Phoenix aren't doing anything, it can really turn the tide of the battle, and that's all you need. As we saw, he was able to take down the one Colossus and all those Stalkers and just push into the natural there and force a GG out of Hasuu.
Yeah, so the next game will be Ruff versus Angry.